Ooh. Hello everybody, my name is Tazmyn from the channel Tea Books and Tazmyn, and welcome back to Penguin Platform. Today I'm going to be talking to you about one of the best pieces of English literature of all time, and that is of course A Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I first read this when I was 16 for my AS level exam thing. Year 12, first year of sixth form. I don't know, they've changed education since I did it. And I didn't do it that long ago. I'm only 23. But there have been things that aren't the same now, and now I feel old. I feel old. I really enjoyed studying this book, and I wanted to talk to you about some of the things that made me go, oh my god, this is amazing, to hopefully get you excited about it as well if you're studying it. As we all know, the school system in the UK manages to kind of sometimes drain the life out of things, which sucks, because for a lot of people, the books that we read in school are then sort of tainted as we get older. Like, one of my good friends hates Jane Eyre because she read it in sixth form, and it's one of my favourite books of all time, but I read it as an adult once I'd left school. And while I did enjoy the books that I studied at school, like Macbeth and Pride and Prejudice I did for GCSE, but even then they were some of my favourites before I studied them, so maybe if I had read them for the first time in school, then I wouldn't have. Anyway, the purpose of this video is to hopefully get you excited about Frankenstein if you are studying it for the first time, if you are just reading it of your own enjoyment. Let's just talk about it and get excited. So comment down below your thoughts and feelings if you've read it, if you're studying it. Tell me everything that is in your mind. And I'm going to tell you now some of my favourite things about it too. The thing I enjoyed most when studying it was actually learning about Mary Shelley herself and her life and the situation in which the book Frankenstein was conceived, the way it was created. So Frankenstein was conceived at Lake Geneva when Mary Shelley, who was then Mary Godwin, her, well, husband? No, they weren't married then. Her boyfriend, Percy Bysshe Shelley, and her half-sister, Claire Clairmont, went to stay with Lord Byron, who is a bit of a legend. It was a summer of debauchery and drink and drugs and sex and amazing writing. There was a doctor called Polidori who also went with them, and he was an actual doctor, but as far as I can remember, and I'm pretty sure this is correct, he was there to give them drugs. That's why he was there. He was brought along because he, being a doctor, had access to things that they wouldn't have been able to. So that's a fun time for them. Nothing bad came of that. Being a group of young poets, young romantics, they talked about all things philosophical and deep. And one night they were talking about the advancements in science and how far they had come, well, we as humans had come. And of course at that time, I mean, the whole thing of Frankenstein is very much like God versus science. Can they be combined? Can we create life? And so one night they were talking about the advancements of biology and science and our understanding and things, and if it would be possible to reanimate a corpse. And then that night she wasn't able to go to sleep. She had all of these thoughts whirring around in her head, and so she started to write about a guy called Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein, who wanted to see if he could do just that, to see if he could reanimate a corpse. And then later, with Percy's encouragement, she continued and developed it into the novel that we know today as Frankenstein, the Modern Prometheus, which came out in 1818. Later in life, Mary Shelley wrote that that summer that she spent in Switzerland was the moment when I first stepped out from childhood into life, which I think is bloody beautiful. Another topic of conjecture when it comes to the context of Frankenstein is the authorship. So Mary wrote it. We know Mary Shelley at the age of 18 wrote this phenomenal book, but there is sort of debate about whether or not it's written more by Percy as opposed to her. There are manuscripts where you can see that he's crossed things out and he's rewritten things and it's in his handwriting. But my hot take on that is I don't think it matters. You can have all of these debates and we're never gonna know the truth. We're never gonna know to what extent Percy influenced the Frankenstein that we have today. And it bothers me, I think, the amount of thought and energy and research that goes into this. It's like, we have a wonderful young woman who did something incredible, but actually, did she? Or was it her already published boyfriend who did it. Like, it just feels incredibly misogynistic to me. If it was written by a man and there had been the manuscript that had been scribbled all over by Percy Bysshe Shelley, like for example, if it was Byron and Percy critiquing and editing each other's work, it literally wouldn't be a thing. It wouldn't matter, no one would care at all. It's just that there is a young, successful woman who did something amazing, and surely an 18-year-old girl can't have written something as groundbreaking as Frankenstein, surely not. So that's my hot take on it. My hot take is that people need to calm the fuck down and stop. People need to stop trying to prove that it wasn't by Mary. It's got nothing to do with anything. It's actually infuriating. Whenever women do something brilliant in any field, it can be day-to-day life, it could be in literature, it could be in science, it can be anything at all, there are always going to be discussions as to whether or not that woman actually did what we attribute to them. They probably fucking did. And you know what? Women probably fucking did loads more than we give them credit for as well. So that annoys me. And if you're gonna write an essay and this comes up, please point out to the governors and the people that sign essays and check them and give points and stuff that it is sexist. Thank you, good day, thank you very much, I appreciate that, thank you. Another thing that I really loved about studying Frankenstein is learning more about Mary herself. What a legendary badass bitch.
She's an icon, she's a legend, and she is the moment.
So she is the daughter of Mary Wollstonecraft, who is a feminist icon. She wrote The Vindication of Women's Rights, but Mary died. Mary Wollstonecraft died when Mary Shelley was really young. So she never knew her. And as I'm sure people that don't have a parent or both parents or however many parents they're supposed to have, it really affected her in the long run. And she had a deep longing and desire to know this parent that was taken away from her far too young. Okay, it does say, unlike many rumors, this one may be true. Okay, I'm really glad of that. So I feel comfortable going ahead with this point now. It's believed, not just like a rumor, it is like actually believed that Mary Shelley lost her virginity on her mother's grave.
And
She's like, my mom's a fucking feminist. She was a free-loving badass. She'd want me to do this right here, right now. And how do I do this? And pay homage to the woman that birthed me by doing it on her grave. I just love her. I feel like we'd be really good friends. Another thing I love about Frankenstein. So the letters at the beginning and at the end of the book. Oh, this is a very like English literature sort of, oh well, you can put that in an essay and I'll give you a couple extra points sort of thing. Okay, so basically the time span of the letters from beginning to end of the book is 9 months. Now that is the gestation period of a human. Now the whole book is about whether or not we can play at being God, right? Right? That's got to be intentional. I don't know, no, that's not foreshadowing because it's at the end of the book. It's just a cool little thing. It's just a cool little detail. I'm sure actually Mary Shelley would be like, guys, calm down. It's not that big a deal. But it's cool. Something else that I find quite interesting is that the version that we have today isn't the version that was originally published. Okay, so the book originally came out in 1818. And then when it was reprinted in 1823, that's when Mary Shelley's name was first put on it. It was published anonymously at first. And then it wasn't until 1831 that the version we know today was printed. It was heavily revised. Do I want to read the full old book? I don't know. I mean, I guess no, because Mary Shelley was like, no, that's not good enough. Let me redo some bits. A lot of it, because it was published in 2 volumes first. And now we have the version that we have today. She was like, I'm gonna change things and like streamline it to make it popular for wider audiences. And here we are 200 years later still reading it. So well done. That worked. That was amazing. Good job. And that's it. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to leave comments down below about your opinions on Frankenstein, what it's been like for you studying it, and we can all chat together and fangirl and boy and fan person over it together. I love you all so much. Goodbye.